Hello everyone, my name is Amir Kalan. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Integrated Studies in Education at McGill University. In my research, I use ethnographic methods to study sociocultural, political, and power-relational contexts of literacy practices. I'm particularly interested in learning about the experiences of minoritized and racialized students in multicultural and multilingual contexts. An example of what I do in my research is a project that I've written about in a book which has been recently published by Multilingual Matters. The book is called Sociocultural and Power-Relational Dimensions of Multilingual Writing, Recommendations for Deindustrializing Writing Education. The book examines the writing practices of 3 adult multilingual writers through the prism of the writing in English as an additional language. In this book, I wrote about some of the cultural, social, and political contexts of the writers' literacy activities and discussed how writers' socially embedded intellectual lives impacts their writing. The book explores the para- and metatextual dimensions of writing beyond the text itself, because organic writing practices are almost always performed within sociocultural and power-relational contexts. In our highly compartmentalized educational structures, writing education has been severed from those organic components because the current structures force teachers to heavily focus on writing stylistics and teach the mechanics of writing and pure kind of rhetorical dimensions of writing. My book argues for a writing pedagogy that acknowledges the complex interactions of social, emotional, and identity-related layers of writing. Writing education in North America is heavily commercialized and compartmentalized in an industrial manner. Resembling Fordian assembly line techniques, writing education is offered to students at different points of their education in components that are not always holistically and organically connected. For instance, introductory writing seminars are separated from content-rich courses such as history, economics, and STEM courses. There are sharp demarcations between academic, creative, and technical writing courses. Second language writing is generally severed from mainstream writing education, and in most ESL schools, second language writing classes are typically taught separately from other skills and topics such as listening, speaking, vocabulary, and grammar. ESL writing classes are also strictly leveled. For instance, there are introductory, intermediate, and advanced writing classes. As a result of our compartmentalized educational structures, writing education has turned into refined content and even pedagogical packages that limit learners' experiences with genre and that deprive students from engagement with rhetorical experimentation and exploration. Learners in this model go through a controlled exposure mechanism which cuts out more complex and sometimes messier aspects of writing events. Curious about what writing students might be missing as a result of this industrial approach, I conducted a research project to study multilingual writers' organic writing practices. I perceive organic writing practices as engagements with textual production that encompass all the dimensions of writing beyond the current narrow institutional categorizations of writing styles, genres, and rhetorical norms. I, for instance, wanted to learn about the personal, affective, sociocultural, discursive, multilingual, and multi-semiotic layers of the act of writing. In this sense, writers' official writing, for instance, school or university assignments, and published texts are only part of the larger organic pool of writing that includes the out-of-school, online, genre-fluid, multilingual, and also incomplete and unedited writing. My empirical project, which you can read about in this book, showed that organic writing practices that empower multilingual writers are in fact practices that complexify intellectual, literate, linguistic, and textual practices rather than simplify them in a small, unconnected packages, as is currently the case in our educational settings. Whereas the current industrial model limits and controls exposure to linguistic and rhetorical events by aggressive leveling, streaming, and refining, organic writing practices maximize exposure to textual complexity. My research also illustrates that the focused and formalist pedagogies in North American educational settings fails to recognize the relations of power that impact perception and evaluation of student writing, and writing in general. These power relations include, for instance, the relations between students and teachers, writers and editors, writers and publishers, job seekers and potential employers, and so on. Accordingly, a portion of the book focuses on power-related subjects that shape most of the experiences of multilingual writers, especially if they are immigrants and if they are newcomers. In my case, I'm focusing on immigrants and newcomers to Canada as the main context of the research. So in this book, I've written about themes such as perception of nativeness in English, especially in written texts, cultural conformity and assimilation and the role of writing in it, writing as a form of survival and resistance, writing as praxis and claiming agency, the politics of publishing and dissemination, critical collaborations, and grassroots writing communities. The book has been recently published by Multilingual Matters, and it is available on different websites. I invite you to read the book and add your voice to the scholarly conversation that attempts to explore the social and power-relational aspects of second language writing, a topic that has been largely ignored in our commercialized educational environment, which is interested in easy and quick educational solutions. Thank you very much.